Okay. Welcome everyone for the session on the story writing. So we will talk about, as I said, we will discuss in the two part. First part is where we will do a discussion. We will just show some patterns. What should be the expected pattern of a story writing? What is the standard? And then who should do it? And what is the minimum criteria or maximum criteria when we say, and what is the relation of the definition of done and definition of ready with the story writings, right? So these are the things we will cover in the second half of this session. We will divide in the two groups, like we are 3 and 3, 6, 7, right? 6, we are 6. So what we will do is we will divide in the two groups, and then we will write the story on one topic. I will give you one topic, and then both the groups will write the stories, and then we will discuss, right? So we'll like 10 minutes we will do it's a kind of a small workshop where you can also contribute and you can also learn. So the first thing is, what is user story, right? And so as you all said, let's forget about the technical or agile term. What is a story writing? Let's first talk about this. What is a story writing? Any example outside this IT world or professional world? What is story writing? The novels, right? The books. Those all are the story writings, right? Whoever write Harry Potter's, that is also a story writing. Someone just assume the things and then they create the characters and then they build the whole stories. None of those characters are really exist in the world, but still that is one of the greatest and successful story in the world, right? I think most of the countries now have many languages. We know the Harry Potter's is written, right? What is all about? Everything in that book is the way they write the story. The same thing, we will try to do that when we are. So, story writing is basically a way to articulate your expectations and your thoughts. So, same thing we will do. The terminology is user story writing. So, when we are writing the stories, we are writing from a user perspective. So, we will create a persona first. Persona means a user. And then, if that is the user, how that user will behave, what that user really expecting, then on the basis of that user, we are writing the stories. Now, in terms of those agile, we will say where the user story stands. So first of all, and there is no fixed format. It could be a user story, could be a child of a epic. A user story could be a child of a feature, where a feature could be a child of a epic. So user story can fit in any of the formats. Epic, feature, user stories, epic and user stories. And then if there is technical tasks, you can also create stories under that. There is no standard like this is the one format you will do. Everything is depend how the organization are using the structure, and accordingly we will create. So I will not talk about those the hierarchy and stuff. We will only focus on the story writing because that is the main topic we have. So now when we are writing the stories, as I said, we will just first of thing we have to think from a user perspective. So we have to just wear the shoes of that user and then we have to write. Now the second question comes before going into the format: who should write the user stories? Is it the product owner? Is it the scrum master? Or is it the development team? So who can think from a user perspective? So out of these three roles, who can better think from an end user perspective? The person who's really connecting with or doing the day-to-day discussions on with the business, right? That person can easily articulate, that person can easily transform those ideas and thoughts in terms of the user stories. And who's the person? The product owner. So product owner basically the one who's day-to-day connecting with the stakeholders. Sometimes the product owner is also going and meeting the real-time users, right? And then they are also connecting their expectations. And then according to the user's perspective, they will think and then they will design the user stories. So that's why we are saying it's a product owner's job. Now the question comes, as a scrum master, should I write the user stories? If you want to contribute, you can contribute in any of the areas. So there should not be any limitations. Okay, I'm a Scrum Master, so I will not write. If you are a Scrum Master who is having a very great or good or understanding or knowledge of that particular domain, then you can contribute in the story writing. Might be your product owner is lacking in that particular area. You have a very good understanding. You can contribute with your product owners, with your business analyst, if there is any business analyst in your team. Then why should the developers also write the user stories? They should not be the primary owner or for the user stories, but they can contribute. Now, where they can contribute in user stories, we have a section of technical details. All right. Who can write the technical details in a better way? The person who's really doing those activities on day to day. So a developer can contribute and can say, okay, the technical details I will fill in the user stories. The rest of the thing, the business, the product owner can fill, right? So there is no hard rules. It's only a product owner job. But when we say in terms of the ownership and the responsibilities, then product owner is the person who's responsible to write down the user stories. If any user story is not done, is not ready, then it's a responsibility of the product owner. Now, the next thing comes, what is the role of a definition of ready and definition done in terms of the user story writing? So before talking about that, we will just go and see a couple of formats what we have in the user stories, right? So I will show you two very small formats. Let me just I will share my whiteboard. Okay, you can see my whiteboard, right? Yeah. So in the user stories, we have few things. I will tell you two differences of the user stories. The first one is just a second. I hope you can see the whiteboard, right?
Yes, Chetan, you can see.
And I'm also writing. Can you see that as well?
Yeah, a box.
Yeah. So on the left side, I will write a small and easiest user story. And the right side, I will write down a complex user stories. And then we will see which one is correct and which one is incorrect. So you guys have to tell me which format is really a valid format and which one is invalid format. Okay. So this is the first one which I'm writing. This is a user story where we have title. Okay. Then we have description. Then after that, we have acceptance criteria. All right. And then here we have estimations. I'm not saying in terms of hours or in terms of story points or whatever is it. It's just an field of estimation. This is a one way of writing user stories. And then I will share the another way where we have same instead of title, I will say summary. Then after that, we have description. Now under description, we have background. Under background, we have, so with background, we have acceptance criteria. Under acceptance criteria, we have scenario 1, we have scenario 2, right? This is another format. Then we have another field where we say non-functional requirement. And we will talk about all of these. Then I will say what is out of scope. Then after that, we have technical detail. Then we have tests, where under tests we have certain things. Sorry. One is happy scenario. Then we have unhappy scenario, right? Then devices, on which devices we have to test, right? And so this is the one format. You can see in the screen now, there are two things. This is the first one in the left side, that is also in a story, where we have story, description, acceptance criteria, and estimations. In the right side, this is the one part, and then additionally here we also have few more things. Estimations, release version, impact, or I will say impacted area. So which one is a right format of a user story, or which one is an like incorrect format, or you will say not use format in both of them?
I think both are right.
Both
There's
are
no right
right.
or wrong.
Which one you are using?
Uh, we use the first one.
Okay. The rest, which one you guys are using?
I'm using the second one.
Okay. Anyone else? Ali, Shri, Sujanya?
Most of the projects we use first one. Whenever there is a complex thing, we try to dig. And then
Your voice is very low, Sujanya.
yeah, so most of the cases we use the first scenario, the simple one.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if the project or if the requirement is little complex, or every time we skip the things, we try to capture all these details and keep it ready. Like we are not
Okay.
following the simple one.
Which one is more relevant?
Yeah, second one, obviously, it looks more good.
And the reason is because we are getting all the details here. Now, when we say what is the benefit we are getting from the left side and what is the, see, they both are correct. You will see, say 60 to 70% projects are using the left side one. They're only using the title, description, acceptance criteria, estimation. They might had one more field as like a functional technical detail or like those things, right? That is the widely used. And the right one, where we have detailed descriptions, what is the background we have, then what kind of different acceptance criteria we have in terms of the scenarios, and then the non-functional requirement, what is out of scope, what is the technical detail. What benefit we will get is when we are really giving the estimates, it's easy for us to give the estimates for the right side one. When you're giving the estimate for the left side content, it's very hard to give any estimate, right? Because lot of things are missing in the left side one. You're not sure what is out of scope. There's a first big impact, because when you only write a description and title and acceptance criteria, and when we start doing the development, when we are doing a discussion with the product owner during the development, then your product owner will say, oh, okay, I miss this scenario, you have to add this as well in the story. Okay, this acceptance criteria also we skip, we have to add that acceptance criteria as well. The reason, because the out of scope is not mentioned. See, whatever part we are building, that part is definitely linking with 3 or 4 other features in the same application, right? Then what is the scope? It's very hard to identify the scope with the left side content. But when you have the right side one, where you mention the acceptance criteria in terms of the scenarios, like, okay, we will only test these 3 scenarios or 4 scenarios. And if there is anything else, that will be comes as an out of scope, or we need a new story for that. It's easy for us to, first thing, to estimate, second thing, to identify the risk, third thing, to deliver, and to, when we are delivering, it's easy for business as well to understand, because they will not come and ask the developers, okay, why you didn't cover this scenario. They can open the link and they will say, okay, what are the scenarios are covered, and if there is anything else, if something missed, they can just coordinate with the product owner, and they will say, okay, product owner will tell them these particular scenarios are covering in the part 2 of the user stories, or we have a separate stories in the backlog which will come, might be after a sprint or after 2 sprints. When the product owner can give these kind of a commitment of the can do the communications, when they know what are the scenarios we are covering in these stories, what are the scenarios we are covering in the upcoming stories or future stories. So this, but then why we are not using that? That's another thing. Why we are, I said majority of 60 to 70% are using left side. The reason is organizations are saying we have a product owner, but that product owner is also wearing 3 different hats. So that person is not only doing the product owner role, he's might be also involved in some other activities, some other roles and stuff. And that is the main reason they are not focusing on the story writing. Right? Then what we should do as a Scrum Master? It's a completely a product owner role. This should be come under the product owner workshop. Why we are discussing in the Scrum Master workshop? Because Scrum Master is the one who can work with the team, who can move slowly from this left side format to the right side format. Because the Scrum Master has responsibility to coach the team, right? Now, how you can coach it? Let's suppose till now you are using the left side format. Now, after this session, tomorrow you are going with in front of your team, and then you will change it completely, and you will go, okay, from tomorrow onward, we will use the right side format. We will not use the left side format. Will that work? They will say, yes, we can do that. Product owner say, yes, it's a nice thought, nice idea. We will do that. But what will happen? You might have the format, but they will only fill 1 or 2 liner details, or they might only fill half detail and they will say, right? So these things are not easy to implement. These things need time. These things need coaching, continuous coaching. Now, who can do that? It's a Scrum Master who can work with the team slowly and guide them. Now, how Scrum Master can help? With the help of 2 things. I said definition of ready, and then definition of done. Can anyone tell me what is definition of ready? And who's responsible for definition of ready?
It's a checklist where we can see if the story is all ready, if we have the required details, acceptance criteria, all the things are ready to get started with.
And the definition of done?
If the story is tested, if it is demoed. So it's even a checklist again, if it is ready to be deployed to the production.
Yeah. Suganti, you want to add something?
Yeah, the responsibility for DoD is by the developers. They can, in unison with the Scrum team, all of them. And the developers have to make sure that the checklist of DOR is ready before they start developing.
Okay, basically it's not the developer who's give the surety for definition of ready. They will give the surety for definition of done. Definition of ready, basically a product owner's job. Now here we will talk about these 15 items, right? Now, even the product owner cannot fill all 15 in one shot. So how they can do that? We will say, okay, in definition of ready, we will have all these things. What is the definition of ready? Each story should have a acceptance criteria, should have at least, we can mention like out of these 15, 10 fields which are mandatory should be filled before we are calling that story as a definition ready, should be estimated, should be having the capabilities to finish within a sprint. So it should be small, right? So it should pass the criteria of, we read in Scrum, right? There is a story writing format. Can anyone tell me what is it? There's an acronym for that.
Invest.
Independent, negotiable,
Yes. What
invest
is the
criteria.
acronym?
Invest.
Invest.
Yeah.
So we will make
In-
sure each of our story follow this invest principle. Now, if you don't know, E is independent. That means your story should not be blocked by any other story. If your story is blocked, then you should not pick that story in the sprint. That should be independent. And means that should be negotiable. Negotiable means if it's a 20 story points, then we should break down into 3, 3, 5, right? So that is the negotiable. We should negotiate this. What are, if there is a 10 scenarios, we can say 3 scenarios we will take this story 1, 3 scenarios we will take in story 2, and we can also do that. That is negotiable. Then that is valuable. Valuable means your story should have or give any value to the end user customer. For example, if you are saying we are building a one button on the page, right? But that button is not functional. We can only create the design, and the functionality or the click functionality we will build in the next sprint. So the first story is basically not a story, that's a task where you're just designing a button, because that will not give any end user values. So we are only calling in a story as a invest principle, where your story is saying, you will say, okay, I add a button into the page, and when you click on the button, you will navigate to this second page. So in this case, your story is really giving any value to the end user, right? So make sure when we are slicing the user stories, we are slicing in this way, so that whatever we are delivering or we are releasing on the production, that gives some value to the customer. Then it should be estimable. When I say the estimable, it's not like that, okay, it's 100 story point. We can't break down, we can't estimate. It should be small. That is another principle. This should be small. Small means which can fit within a one sprint cycle. And then it should be testable. So these are the like the details of this acronym of invest. So when we are talking about the definition of ready, make sure your story is doing this. Now, how we can do this? When we are doing a great story writing, when you have all those things, when you consider all of these things, you can easily do that. When you're writing the acceptance criteria, and you will get to know your product owners added 10 acceptance criteria in one story. That means that's not deliverable in one sprint, right? Do a discussion, break down that story in small pieces, where you can say, okay, these 3 acceptance criteria we can work in the story 1, and the rest will be going as out of scope. And then from out of scope, we are slowly creating the story 2, story 3, and we are delivering it. So these kind of things comes under the definition of ready. Now, how we will make sure this is followed? Basically, in a Scrum team, we all are using a Scrum board, right? Where we have to do, then we have in progress, then after that we have, what is the next? Code review. Then after that we have testing, and then after we have done. So this is basically what we are using in Scrum or any framework. Now, when we are following the definition of ready, what the product owner can do, they can create a Kanban board where they will say, right now, when we are creating a story, it's in to do. The next is ready for writing. When I say the writing, like we can fill these details. The next is ready for grooming. And I will tell you how this helps. And then we will say this is ready for estimation. And then this is ready for development. So when we are having this kind of a Kanban board, every time whenever we're creating a story, those should be going into to do. Now, when we are What's the product owner's responsibility? Pick the story from the backlog, add all those details. Until those details are not filled, the story will only remain in this section. That means is still not ready for grooming. Grooming means the discussion. Once all the stories, let's say here we have 100 stories in the backlog. Now product owner planned to write down 10 stories. So he moved 10 stories here. He will start writing. Once he is done with the writing, he will move these stories into the ready for grooming. In the grooming, he will discuss with the team and he will fill the remaining details, the technical details. If there is any scenario he has to add or remove, or he has to break down that story, he has to add out of scope areas. So those things we will do during the grooming. Once this thing is done, then we will move into the estimations. So might be here we have 10 out of this, here we will move 8 out of 8 we will move 6 here, and then out of 6 we will move 4 here. And this is a continuous process, right? Every week we are connecting with the team, we are refining our backlog. So whatever items we have in the ready for development, these are the items are basically ready for the developers to move into the sprint backlog. Now here you can see, this is a product backlog. And this is the sprint backlog. Now, when we talk about the Scrum framework, we will say, okay, these are the two artifacts. Product owner is the owner of this. Scrum team is the owner of this. Now, who's the owner of this part? This is also a product owner. So it's product owner's responsibility to make sure the things from the to do to ready for development. He will fill all these details. He can take the team's help. Here, estimations, he needs team's support. In grooming, he needs team support. In writing, he can just follow the format and syntax. He can do that, right? So this is what we are requiring. So this is the things how we can write down a user story, how we can make sure and story following definition done, definition ready. Now, definition is a separate thing, which is only required when we're doing the implementation. So this is not related to the story writing, so I will not talk about this right now. Okay. Now, before moving into the workshop, is there anyone have any questions or comment? Okay. So what I'm doing now, I'm creating a breakout room where 3 of you are going in one room and 3 of you are going into the another room. Okay. Just give me a second. And then I will tell you what you have to do. And it will automatically create and move you guys into the rooms. Okay. Okay, so before going into the room, I just created 2 rooms. You guys will automatically move. What you have to do? I'm just giving you a scenario, like you guys can write down the scenario and then you have to do it. So you have to build an web page, or you will say you have to just, okay, let's talk about the non-IT, non-technical aspect, because then it's easy for us to connect and do that. What you have to do, you have to write a user story, okay, where you have to write couple of scenarios, you have to write couple of acceptance criteria, and you have to write a use case, a user story on lime soda, right? So for your customer, you have to prepare a glass of lime soda, right? So what is how you will write the story of a dish of lime soda? So you have a dish of lime soda, so you have to write a user story. Can you do that? Any question on this? Now you all know, right? When you're going in the restaurant, when you order the lime soda, you will get something. So I'm a customer. You guys are a part of a restaurant. You can make yourself a cook. Okay, you all are a cook and I'm a customer. Now I need a dish, which I said I need a lime soda. Now you have to think, and then you have to write a user story. What are the things we need. How you will write the use cases, the scenarios, the roles, and how you can do that. You can choose either the format left or right, and then we will do a discussion. Any questions on the requirement? Basically, that's how we will get the requirements. So if any one of you play the role of a product owner, that's how you will get it. So your customer or the stakeholders, they will say, okay, I need this. That's the only information you will get. And then rest everything you have to just brainstorm, and you have to think, and then you have to present, and then you have to go to the customer. Okay, last time we discussed, is this your requirement? And then you will get a sign off from the customer. And then those things come into he will turn out into the product backlog. So we are in the first phase. You have to write a user story, right? Now I'm breaking you guys into a room, and you will get 10 minutes for the room. I will just make a timer. So within 10 minutes, you have to do that. And this. And you will get additional 10-second countdown after the 10 minutes. I just open all the rooms. You can see your room name. Ritika, Shri, and Sugandhi, you are in room 1. And Ali, Sojanya, and Utkarsh, you are in room 2. Hi, Ashita.
Hi.
You just joined. People are in breakouts room. So they are just doing one exercise. You can also join any of the room. Okay, I will just put you in one of the room, and then you can also just do that. Let me see where I can move. I just move you in the room one where you can see they are writing the user stories, right? So you can join them. Okay. So first of all, how was the breakout room? The discussion.
Yeah, very interactive.
Interactive. Okay. And now you guys are ready with your story, right? The first story. So you guys are playing the role of Scrum Master, but here I force you to play the role of product owner to write a user story. So basically, you're doing a proxy product owner role. So how was this new experience? It's tough, right? Because none of us are doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this. First, we will go through group A. I'm the first group. Can you just share your experience? Are you ready with the user story? Like, are you ready with my lime soda? I need
Yes.
the lime soda.
Yeah. As you said, we played the role of a Scrum Master,
Mm-hmm.
but then we came up with Srivadri, you want to share your notepad?
Yeah, but Chetan has to give me the permission.
Okay, just a second.
Yeah.
Okay, now anyone of you can share.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is my notepad visible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we started with the summary where we said, okay, we have to prepare a glass of lime soda, and then the description was again preparing a glass of lime soda for the customer. But we were not clear of the requirements, so we had two assumptions whether we have to prepare a salted one or sweet one. So
Mm-hmm.
if we are given with a salt, lime, and then soda, then we'll prepare lime soda salt. Or if it is like including sugar, then we'll prepare lime soda sweet. So that was the two assumptions, and then we'll have to confirm with our customer which is the need. And accordingly, the acceptance criteria will vary. So acceptance criteria, we just made it like lime soda of desired variety. So whether it's salt or sweet. And then out of scope was decorate with mint leaves. First, we thought of preparing the glass of lime soda. If the other parts like decorating it with mint leaves and then adding straws, all that, then it is out of scope as of now. We'll include that later. And then the happy scenario is when the lime soda turns out to be really good with the perfect composition of salt, sweet, and everything. But unhappy if the level of sugar or salt is more, or if the it's not of the right conversion. And then we estimated the story point as 3. We estimated the time needed to be like around 10 minutes. So we estimated it as 3, and then the release version we just named it as 1.2. So whereas maybe the out of scope things like decorating with mint leaves and then other stuff, if it should be added, then we'll include it in the next release. This was the idea.
Can you do one thing? Can you just post this in the chat so that everyone can see
Yeah.
this? And then first we will hear from the group 2, and then we will talk about this, both the user stories which you guys write, right?
Yeah, and then Suganti or if anybody else from the team want to add any more points, please do.
I think we would made it well. There's
Okay.
nothing to add.
Yes.
Okay, you can just post in chat. Nice. Now
Yeah.
can we move to the group 2? Your version of the lime soda?
Yes, so I'll start with this. The description is prepare a glass of lime soda. Some of the assumptions that we have, or we need to get the clarification about what's the quantity they need, if it is if they're okay with the 300 ml of a glass or 250 ml. Some of the requirement like if it's a sweet or a salt or sweet or salt, if the temperature is cold or normal temperature, if they need some additional ice to be added. These are some of the questions that we have. And additionally, we can give straw and the slice of lemon and pudina for the presentation. And we also needed to know if they need it at the beginning of the meal or the mid or towards end. And we have estimated in time, 10 to 15 minutes is what we have mentioned. And for this, we need lemon, water, soda, and then salt or sugar, salt and sugar. This is the requirement. These are the basic things that we need to get started with. So we have not segregated as happy scenario as they've mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. You can also just post in the chat and then we will discuss so that like the other team can also look into this.
I've written on the paper. So
I mean, that's fine. Okay, it's fine. No issues. We don't have to take that much stress. Okay. So now the thing is, you identify the problem. You guys identify what kind of a lime soda the customer need, the stuff. And I told you I was a customer, right? And even I was there for both of your breakouts multiple times. But none of you come and clear those questions, right? That is the thing. That is a mistake which generally we are doing. We are saying, okay, right now we're in the phase. We have a 10 minutes. We have to just focus on the writing. But we have a team, right? So any one of you can ask and can clarify these. You can also ping me in the chat. That's the options we have in the Zoom if you don't know. Basically, this 10 minutes, right? You get the time. Similarly, the same thing happened when we are working in either a 1 week or 2 weeks of sprint. And this is a major the problems with the teams and with the product owners. And it's not only about the product owner, even in the team as well. When they have the questions about any user stories, right? They will wait for a certain event. They will say, I have my questions. I will only ask the questions in the next refinement meeting or next sprint planning or next grooming, right? While they have an opportunity where they can just connect and they can quickly clarify those things. That is the one thing which is missing right here. Then the second thing which is missing is the personas. The personas means the users. I mean, you guys catch it? Did I need a decoration and a straw or a lime or stuff, right? But you can also understand there are two kind of users, right? So when you're writing users, so you have to, I told you in the beginning, right? You have to wear the hat of the customer. So first of all, you have to think about the product, who's really the customers, who's the consumer of your product. So lime soda, what kind of people are drinking lime soda? The first one who's really feeling very thirsty and they need something to drink, their first preference is lime soda, right? These are the general scenarios I'm talking about. And the second one is someone who's really sitting in between the people who are drinking, and that person is really, he can't drink. So he says, okay, I will go with the lime soda. And then they expect some kind of fascinate lime soda where we have a straw, we have a small umbrella, we have a slice of either a lemon or an orange or some leaves of pudina and stuff, right? So we have two different kind of a customers. Now, when you guys are preparing, you have to think for these two guys of two different kind of a customers. What is your primary target? Are you building for a person who's really in need or a person who's really looking for the demand? So what we are calling those things is, we're calling a thirsty persona, a thirsty person who really looking for this. So when you're thinking from a thirsty user's perspective, you will not think about the straw, you will not think about the umbrella, you will not think about the lemon. You will only think about the quantity. You will think about how much lemon or how much like sugar you can add, which is really helpful for the thirsty person. And then the second persona, a fashionable user. That fashionable user, if he's sitting in a very like expensive restaurant, they're not focusing about only these things. Their main expectation is my soda glass will be well represented, right? So these kind of two different personas we have. So when we are writing, same thing, when we are talking about any user stories, we have to first think about who is the real consumer. What kind of different consumers we will get. When you're thinking from the customer or consumer's point of view, you will automatically get to know about 10 different acceptance criteria. You will get to know about different scenarios. You will get to know about what is out of scope. So for the thirsty person, the slime, straw, umbrella, these all are the out of scope, right? Or while if you're building for someone who's a fascinating, so that for that person, these are not out of scope. These are the must-have kind of a thing. So that's how we have to build it. So you might be preparing the lime soda for two different customers. So you have to focus according to the need of the customer. And where you will get these details? When you are collaborating with your stakeholders, with your customer. Okay, what kind of, suppose if you are a chef of a restaurant and you're doing that, then definitely you're focused on the presentation. But if you are selling in a same lime soda outside a park, right? In the morning, early morning, then your focus is not on the presentation, your focus on the quality, what you're giving to the customers and the quantity. Because at that time, their focus is only how maximum I can get in the minimum value. So same things we have to think when we are writing. So same perspective as a Scrum Masters, you have to give your team. When your team, your product owners, when they are writing user stories, they are contributing, they might be not thinking about all these different scenarios. They might be not thinking about all these use cases, right? If they're doing, it's great. You might have a very great product owner, a team of product owners who is doing a very good research. But if you, as a Scrum Masters, you have an experience in that particular field, and if you feel this particular product owners or the team of the requirement, whoever collecting the requirement, they are not doing as expected, how you can contribute. So you can do that. There is another workshop which generally we are doing is persona, the user personas. So where we will talk about the same thing, where we have a same product, but we have a different consumers. When you have 10 consumers, then you have to think about all those 10 different consumers and build it. And there's one of example before concluding this. Amazon, Flipkart, any e-commerce website, right? In the e-commerce website, we all are doing shopping, right? Now, we all have a different kind of expectations. Couple of us might be giving more value to the discount and the prices. Couple of us might be giving more value to the number of reviews or ratings, right, for a product. And couple of us might be going in depth and reading all the reviews, reading negative reviews, positive reviews, the real images uploaded by the customers, and then you are finalizing it, right? So how Amazon design, when Amazon design or any website, e-commerce website, they design, they give all these things at the first glance. When you're in a listing mode, you will see the image, you will also see the rating. In the rating, you will see in the brackets how many users are really gave the ratings. All right. When you click on that, you will get a direct link where you can go in the reviews. You can also read the reviews. You can also filter out the reviews in the positive and negative, 1 star and the 5 star, right? Why they're doing all these things? Because they know they are dealing different kind of a customers. There are few customers who are only looking for the pictures. Okay, this picture looks good. The price, they're also mentioning price, the discount, right? They're also giving below the discount. They are also having an option of offers, because a couple of us, we are expecting I have a 3 credit card. One of the credit card definitely give me some more discount. So they will also put that options below the price, because that's the place where people are looking. So if someone is really a money-minded person, he will only not looking at the price. After the price, his next expectation is, okay, which card I can put so that I will get maximum discount. So those kind of things, when they're designing a user story, when they're designing a platform, they are going through with different scenarios. They are just going with, okay, might be we have a 1 million users, but out of 1 million, what kind of a majority of users are going or using our applications, and accordingly will give that. Same when you have a membership, any kind of a membership on e-commerce website, you will get a different kind of a shortlist items. You will get a different kind of a like features where you can filter out, or you will get an additional like early deliveries kind of options and stuff, right? So what they are doing is, on the basis of customer, they are changing their flow as well. So I'm talking about, let's take an example of Amazon. Amazon Prime users, they will get a benefit where they can choose the dates, where they can choose if generally a product is coming in 2 days. In case of Prime members, they have an option, they can get 1 day early as well. Sometimes in some Prime products, they will get that options. But that option is not visible to the non-Prime members. So if a non-Prime members is going into the cart and stuff, he will only get, okay, when he can expect that product. So for same screen, they build 2 different scenarios. We are calling them user personas. So on the basis of user personas, we are breaking down our user stories, and then we are covering it. So you have to think all of those scenarios. It's not your responsibility, but as a good Scrum Master or Agile coach, you should aware of how you can coach your team. What are the areas which is missing where you can do that? When you're coaching the definition of ready, you should know why we are focusing on more on the definition ready, because definition ready is a part of a story writing. So if you know that story writing, you can definitely coach your team better on the definition of ready. So that's why we are talking about all of these things in the Scrum workshop. Okay, with this, I'm concluding this. If any one of you have any questions, comment on this session or this small workshop. Anyone?
We have to thank you for engaging us and providing insightful sessions every week. So, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, Chetan. And we are blessed to be here.
Most welcome. If you can add, you can just ask your more team members who are really in the same field of Scrum Master, or they become the Scrum Master, or any leadership role, just share with them. They can also join that, right? It's a free. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Then we will meet after 2 weeks for the next session. I will post in the group what will be our next session.
Yes. Thanks,
Thank you,
Chetan.
everyone.
Thank you.
We meet for the Thursday.
Thursday, that's a separate group, right? So I will talk about this in separate discussions. Yeah, that's not this group. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Chetan. Thank you. Good day.